This is my November reading roundup. I read 35 books. I read one of my most anticipated reads of the year, which was The Strength of the Few. I love this series. It is kind of complicated and requires a lot of brain power, but I am really enjoying it. I started a lot of series, but I did complete a series. I finished a Raven cycle. I read the last 3.5 books. I don't know how to describe this series. It's just kind of very odd, but I did really like it. I like the characters a lot. Some other new fantasy releases I read were Cold Wire. This was very futuristic, dystopian, YA, virtual reality themed. I think this would be really cool as a movie. I read an arc for Arrow of Fortune. Not my favorite series, but it is very Indiana Jones adventure vibes. I read We Fell Apart because I love the We Were Liars universe. This is just okay. I just like the TV show a lot better. The Thing is God's Break, released in October, but I got to it in November, and I really enjoyed this. This had time travel, so it was a little more complicated. Another series I finally finished was the Thesmar World. I finished Ashes of Thesmar, Silver and Smoke. This is great. Highly recommend Ashes of Thesmar and Legends of Thesmar. Is a great romantic series. I also read The Ascended. Absolutely love this. This was thick. This was 700 pages. The ending, big plot twist for me. Very excited for Realmblade next year. I said I wasn't gonna read Brimstone. I didn't care about Quicksilver anymore. I enjoyed it when I read it, but totally forgot what it was about. Then I ended up reading it because everybody else was reading it. I think I read too fast to even notice grammatical errors. I had a good time with this. I also read an arc of We Who Will Die. This is Vampire Hunger Games meets Gladiator, in a Roman Empire world. I had a really good time with this, and I love that it did not end on a huge cliffhanger. Thank you. The other arc I read was The Rebel and the Rose. This is a great YA fantasy series. I also highly recommend this. I started the Hidden Legacy series. I listened to the graphic audio of book 1 and book 2 and finished book 3. Alona Andrews is now one of my most underrated authors that I have read this year. This is such a great fantasy series. I love it. And the one fantasy book that I did read that I really didn't like, that I already knew I wasn't gonna like, I kind of just hate read it, was Bonds of Hercules. Not sure why I wasted my time with that. The 9th book in the Detective Madison Harbor series came out. I love the series. I recommend the series to anyone who wants to get into mystery and thriller books. I read Nash Falls, which is a new series by David Baldacci. He is one of my favorite thriller authors too. I read The Widow by John Grisham, which is a legal thriller, so if you like legal thrillers, I would recommend this. I absolutely love Harlan Coben and I love Reese Witherspoon, but their new book together was just okay and a little too outlandish. Now, I'm not a dark romance person, but I did read and listen to Lights Out. I love Teddy Hamilton and I thought Josh was so funny. A new show that came out on Peacock, All Her Fault. Apparently everybody loved it, so I wanted to read the book first, and it was twisty. It definitely was. I will not be watching a TV show because I already know what happens, but I do highly recommend the book. Guess Again is another popular thriller on Book Talk community, and I liked it. It was very twisty. I did not guess some of the plot twists, but I guess it didn't fully blow me away, but I'm very hypercritical of thrillers. Another one that was becoming more popular is You'll Never Know. Now, the first 40% was great, started off with a bang, but my criticism of this book is who the perpetrator is at that 50% mark, and the rest of the book is explaining why that perpetrator did what they did. The Intruder was Frida McFadden's newest thriller, and this just did not blow me away. None of Frida's books have ever blown me away. I think I liked The Housemaid, and that was about it. I did forget to add in a fantasy part. I did read Priceless, which is a fantasy series about this girl. She's a tracker and helps find missing people, which sounds great. Sounds so up my alley. I listened to the graphic audio. I actually did not like the female main character narrator's voice. The story was just a little all over the place. There was just something I didn't like about it, so I don't think I'll be continuing the series, unfortunately. I did listen to What Kind of Paradise. This is a coming of age story with a little hint of a thriller vibes there. I do recommend it. I read a bunch of these thriller arcs. I really only truly enjoyed Paradise Coast, which gave off the Outer Banks Netflix TV show vibes, where it's the rich versus the poor. It's a teenager summer adventure, and the rest of them were just kind of okay. Then last but not least, I promise I'm almost done, I read / listened to the graphic audio of Mistborn. I technically didn't finish this in November. I finished it in December, but this was so freaking good. I'm so excited for the rest of the Cosmere universe. So that was all the 35 books I have read. Thank you for listening.